Hello and welcome to the latest installment of the Aras Innovator Demo Series. Today we're going to talk about technical documentation. A quick note about the demo series: it runs for 30 minutes and features all demo with no sales pitch. Typically twice a month we show you a different capability of the Aras Innovator Platform. Once the demo is complete, you can visit our website www.aras.com/demoseries to view past demos as well as register for upcoming demos. We have on the line today Gary Wilmot, Solutions Consultant. Gary, take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for taking time out of your busy day to join us on today's webcast. We know you do that not just because you love Aras and want to learn more about Innovator, but realistically, if you're here today, it's probably because you are facing some type of challenges regarding technical documentation. We know there's a wide range of applications out there, but common type of challenges or problems that may exist may be maintaining consistency, having a corporate standard enforced about content and style regarding your technical documents. And this could be across a wide range of types of technical documents. Of course, you need to make sure they're accurate and complete so that they're conveying the right information, all the information, especially if you're dealing with regulatory and compliance. This is further challenging since probably in our audience today, most of your technical documentation is based around some type of product information, which is of course always updating and changing as time goes on, so the documents need to evolve as well. We feel that Aras Innovator as a PLM platform is an excellent way to attack these challenges in technical documentation. And by building in the technical documentation application into the PLM platform, we automatically get all of the benefits such as life cycles, permissions, revision version control. It's already in the web client that you're using, and we can reference those business items such as product information automatically. We won't have time to go into a lot of detail about the behind-the-scenes administrative topics of the schema and style configuration, but we'll certainly touch on that and point you in the right direction for those of you that are in an admin role. Of course, you need to make these documents eventually and ultimately available to your consumers, and we support through the PLM platform widely used formats such as XML, HTML, and PDF. So simply put, in the demo today, our endeavor is to show you that technical documents in Aras Innovator are consistent, flexible, reusable, manageable, and traceable. So let's get right to the demo. It's possible that not all of you have seen Aras Innovator before. I won't have time to go through an overview of the user interface in detail, but I'm going to start in a part that whether you're using Aras Innovator, at least if you have some idea or background in PLM, you're probably familiar with the idea of managing parts. And here we have some sample parts in our demo database. Managing those items in a controlled environment. And we'll bring up and view a simple part. So part of the benefit of the PLM platform is being able to have things such as a revision, version, lifecycle, permissions, workflow, and so on. And we all know that parts usually don't exist independently in a vacuum. They're probably part of an overall structure. So using the where used in Aras Innovator, we can see that this particular part is part of an assembly, and an assembly itself has a structure, a managed logical structure that references multiple parts and can go through changes and configuration changes and version changes to the top level and to the individual parts themselves. So we're all familiar with that. My point here is, wouldn't it be nice if we could take that same capability and philosophy to creating a structure that is a complex technical document? And a technical document can be made up from the ground up like a bill of materials from individual components. For example, we might have some graphic images. So here I'm just showing some sample simple graphic images, and I'll open up one of these. And like an individual part, we can have revisions, lifecycle state, it can have an optional workflow to review. But to our point of traceability, we can see that that particular picture doesn't exist in the background. It's actually part of a specific technical document, which we can think of as an assembly, and that particular document is used in multiple higher level documents. You can also see that we have specific revision version control. These happen to all just be at A, but that's just a coincidence. In fact, really emphasizing traceability, if I want to, I can query all the way up from a technical, an image to a parent document to a final top-level document, all the way up to a project that initiated the need for this document in the first place. So I can see we had an update and a modification to one of our printer models, and we needed to document that. That was assigned as part of a project, and here's the result, tracking this and tracing it all the way. Let's go to one of those documents where this graphic is actually used. Let's open it up. First of all, it has, just like everything else we've seen, it has its own manageable properties. You can extend the form to control any properties or attributes you need. It automatically inherits all the core PLM functionality to manage it. If we're going to treat it as a structure, though, I'm going over now to the editor view. We want to give you a way to navigate that structure logically. So here you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, we call this a structured document environment. We have a simple outline for this that describes and puts into a hierarchy the individual portions of this very simple document, which is used in a larger high-level document. So here you can see I have a particular structure, I have a description, I have a graphic. If I have permissions to edit this, I can come into the text, but notice I have very limited choices in what I can do to edit. That's because the overall style and content format is contained in a schema, and that is one way to enforce company standards. So I can come in and I can add in some text here, given that I have permissions on this model, on this particular item, and I can do some basic things, like maybe bold the text, underlined it, but I can't go in and change the justification, I can't change the color, I can't change the font. I can change and remove a graphic and add a new one, but I can't change the position and so on. So we're giving you flexibility, but within a structured, managed approach so that we can create, enforce, and reuse company standards. Let's go ahead now and see how this works in conjunction with creating a document from scratch. We'll just do a quick new technical document. I'll give it a number. Here, as you can see on the form, we can have required fields, we can have optional descriptive fields, and so on. If I try to save this now, you're going to see I get an error. That's because one of the required properties is what's called a schema. So we've been alluding to this. I'm going to go ahead and apply this schema to it. Now it will allow me to save, and it will open up the editor. You'll notice in this example, I start with a completely blank screen, and I am given some guidance with the choices of type of structure that I can use. So I have quite a few options that I can use in this example. So I might go in and put in an overview, but that overview has a structure. So for example, I can add a description, and I'll just fill in some text. So you see the formatting is all preset. We're center justified here. I can add, but I'm limited and controlled in what I can add. So I could add, reference an external document, or I can add a graphic. And here, I can add a label or a graphic. Notice I can put a label in. I can put that in first, but notice what happens when I go now and tell it to put in the graphic. And I'll just pick some graphic from our library. It still puts it in that format you saw before. So no matter what order I add these things, the format and the structure is going to be maintained. Let's take a look at a similar but different scenario. Let me go ahead and add another new document. We'll give it a number. I'm going to apply that same schema. But this time I'm also going to further refine the structure by giving it a classification. Now, if you're using Aras Innovator, you're familiar with the terms of classifications, and you know all the things it inherits from core PLM functionality, but also in this instance, in technical documentation, if I give it an assembly type classification, I'll go ahead and save. And now if I go over to the editor, you'll notice I don't start with a completely blank screen. I have a starting point, and I'm right-clicking, and I now am very much limited in what I can add in content and structure to this type of document. So you can see we can make this flexible, but still control from a wide range of choices the amount and type of content that can go into a document, or we can further restrict that down so that specific types of documents can only have a limited amount of structure and information that's appropriate to them. Let's clean up some of these tabs and let's go ahead and take a look at a document that has a little more structure to it. In fact, before I do that, if you look here, we just have a few examples, but this really gets across kind of the point of the wide range of applications for technical documentation. These could be things like a simple packing list with some illustrations. It could be assembly instructions used on the shop floor. It could be used for marketing or catalogs. So it's a wide range of applications. Here you'll see now we have a much more robust document. It's got more of a structure with multiple levels. One thing that's very convenient is I can click either in the rendered view itself or on the tree view, and it'll take me to the proper place immediately in that structure. Now notice here, I've locked this for editing. I can go in and I can make a change to the title section here. But notice if I'll fix my typo, notice if I go down into the text itself, I know you can't see my hand here, but I'm clicking, I'm typing, and nothing is happening. That's because this particular section is controlled by an external document, a child document. So if I want to make edits to the text there, I would need to go ahead. I can open that up directly from here. Let's just go ahead now. I had already made some changes to it. Let's just go ahead and save, unlock, and close that and refresh my parent document. And now you'll see it picks up the edit from the child document. So this is data reuse. Not only are we enforcing the structure of when this content can be used, but we're also making it available through a wide range of repeatable documents where we may need the same information. Also, we alluded to in the introduction the idea of using PLM information. Typically, we're building these documents, although we're certainly not limited to it, but typically it has something to do with a product design structure. You'll see here, if I click in the rendered view, I have a parts list. Now this is not a case of taking an Excel spreadsheet and exporting, importing, or typing this in manually. Over here on the hierarchy, you can see it points to an actual PLM item. I can go ahead and look at that item, and I can see that it's actually a bill of materials, and this particular one is going through a change. We're not going to get off too much onto other topics, but as a control change item, I can look at this and I can see what's going on with the changes here. And if I was to open up the new rev, I would see some things about the bill of materials that a designer might see or someone in manufacturing. It's not necessary though for me as a technical document creator to go to that level, because if you look closely, I immediately get flagged that this content is out of date that I'm consuming. So I have choices here. What I may do is go ahead and release this document with this previous version information and then create a new rev for the new, or for the sake of our demo, we'll go ahead and update this to the latest and refresh the content. So this will go ahead and now tell me that it's pointing to the item, which in this case is the new Rev B, still under change. Finally, let's talk about making this content available in a wide range of audience. So let's open up another type of document, maybe a catalog description. And this looks really good for my use if I'm the author or maybe reviewing this, but I want to make it in a little more readable and familiar format to my consumers of it. Also, I want to kill two birds with one stone here. If we look at this feature list, if you look closely, it almost looks like it's redundant because it mentions cooling fans twice. What we're really demoing here is the ability to have a master document that can have filters and be very flexible to show multiple variations on a product in one master document. And then when you decide it's time to go ahead and publish this, you have the option for XML and maybe to take this into another application for some reason. HTML if you want to publish this out to a web page immediately. We'll just use PDF here. And what I'm going to do is show a preset filter that I've set up that says show me the PDF document for model X of this complete product. When I go ahead and render this, it'll open up a PDF for me to see. And if we look closely at that, we'll see there's some formatting choices you have for your final published document as well. But you'll notice we no longer have the redundant listing twice of cooling fans. Model X has the cooling fan listing with the actual illustration. And as you might expect, if I was to go ahead and pick Model Y, publish that, we would see the opposite choice, which is just to list the cooling fans without the options and the illustration. So hopefully we've given you, in this quick kind of whirlwind tour at a high level of technical documentation, some of the basic capabilities, and within that, hopefully we've been able to demonstrate and reinforce what we talked about at the beginning of the demo, that technical documents in Aras Innovator are consistent, so you can enforce organizational standards. They're flexible, so you can support a wide variety of technical document applications. They're reusable, so you can create new technical documents faster. They're manageable, so you can ensure your technical documents are accurate, up to date, and also secure. And they're traceable, so you can understand and manage the impact of change, not just of the documents themselves, but also of the underlying products that you are documenting. So we hope we found this useful so far, but don't go anywhere, because we're not done. We have today a special guest with us, Kevin Richard, Product Manager for Technical Documentation, and he's going to take a few minutes to show you live the latest and greatest up-to-the-minute updates in technical docs since Service Pack 12.
Okay, thanks Gary. That was a great overview. To extend that demonstration, I want to show you some of the latest features that we've implemented over the past several months and recently released as part of our Service Pack 15. To get started, I want to show you a find feature, and I have a separate document opened. You can see it looks a little bit different than some of the content that Gary was showing you. This is a user manual from our own technical document application. Okay, so I've just created this within the technical documentation application, and I'll go over the structure of that in just a minute. But to start, I want to show you a search or a find feature, and here what I've done in the upper right corner here, there's a little icon. When you click on it, it exposes a text entry area. If I were to type in the word document and hit enter, you can see that it gives me the number of search hits within this document. Here we found over 500, and I can use these arrows to visit, if you will, each search hit. Okay, so if I hit down, I'm going in order of the document text that I have found, and you can see that when I visit that search hit, the corresponding document element in the tree is highlighted. All right, if I go up all the way to the top and continue, I then go wrap around to the last search hit in the document, and likewise that element is then highlighted in the tree as well. So if I hit the X here, I close it, it hides all the search hits that it finds. If I scroll up to the top again here, I want to show you a little bit about this document structure. So similar to the kind of content that Gary was showing you, here I have a full document. It is basically an aggregation of documents from separate items within Innovator. I have a title, I have a subtitle in this document, and you can see here I'm reusing another document with the title copyright information. If I click on that, you can see the full content of that document, and so on throughout the rest of this content. Basically, there is a separate document item for each chapter. But let's start out with this copyright information. If I right click on that, I say view item, I'm going to open just that particular document. Okay, so it's much smaller, and this is information within our documentation that we reuse. Okay, it's sort of boilerplate information, and what I want to show you here is another feature that if I click on this icon up in the upper left, open the document view, I have the ability to show content side by side. And in this case, what I'm doing is I want to expose content from an earlier or from a separate generation. All right, so if I click on this down and I go to A1, you can see on the left here it says current. The current version that I've opened is Rev A, Generation 2, and then on the right side I'm clicking the same document but an earlier generation, A1. I say apply, the screen is split, and I've got a read-only version of the previous generation, in this case on the right, and on the left I have the version that I opened initially. Future versions of technical documentation, we will have a color coordinated highlight of what has changed, added, and deleted so that it's more obvious to the user when they're viewing two separate versions. Okay, so that's side-by-side viewing. I'm going to go back to the main document here, and I want to show you another feature, which is the ability to add a table of contents, or a table of figures, or a table of anything based on your configuration. Step down here to this area where I already have a title, table of contents, and after the title, if I say add, you can see that I only have the ability to add what I'm calling TOC, or table of contents, and when I click on that, I have the automatic generation of all the elements for a table of contents. These were generated based on content that's already in our document here. Overview, terms, these are all sections and subsections that exist in the document. So if I save this, I want to show you the results of a table of contents on published content. So I'm going to click on Actions, Publish Document, and let's look at HTML first, and I will show the results here in the browser. Click on Convert. And here is an HTML version of that content, and you can see the table of contents added after this title. If I click on any one of these elements here, I'll just click on one, you can see that it's in fact a live link. And you'll also notice that the section and subsection numbering has been dynamically generated as well. And I'll show you that by opening the actual version of this aggregate documents in a separate view. But before I do that, I want to click on PDF, convert it again. It's opened up in a PDF viewer. And if we scroll down to the table of contents, you'll see that there is actual page numbers added as well. So page numbers only make sense in page-based media, which is what PDF is. And like HTML, if I come down here and I click on a link, it will jump to that particular section within the document. So one last thing on table of contents is that I mentioned the automatic numbering of these sections. So if I were to come down here and go to this particular chapter, chapter 4 in this case, you'll see it starts with the number 4, subsections have 4.1, and subsections 4.1.1, and so on and so forth. If I were to open that document by clicking View Item, you'll see that the numbering starts with 1. Well, it's 1 because I'm only opening this particular document. So if I were to embed this chapter in another document, the numbering would start based on where it is within that other overarching document. Okay, so numbering and subsection numbering is a dynamic feature, and it's based on the content in which it is placed.
All right. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Kevin. Make sure to enter in any questions you might have into the Q&A panel. We'll get to questions now. Is a license purchase required separately from the primary PLM license in order to use the tech documentation module?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Technical documentation is open, actually. What you get as a subscriber is the ability to publish.
Okay. I see a language option in the publisher. Is that easy as selecting different language to convert to?
So the language option in the editor does not convert the text for you. What it does is it allows you to access a separate content area where separate language content is stored.
Okay. Can I paste images into a document from the clipboard?
No, I get that question a lot, actually. And image content within a technical document, I'm just going to scroll down here till I find an image here, is configuration managed. We want to track the individual versions of all content that gets added into a document. And within TechDocs, if I were to come here and click on graphics, go out to the main talk area and click on graphics, I'll show you all the graphics that are added in this particular demo environment of mine. All of these are versioned just like anything in Innovator. So in order to create an image content within a document, we want that embedded within an image item, so that we can track the specific version of an image per the specific version of a technical document. And that's how we embed graphics within the system.
How can I change the size and position of graphics in a document?
So in general, styling and colors and format, position, and all that is centrally managed. So again, I'm going to use this sample where I am here. And in order to modify this, I want to open this document. I'm going to say View Item. I'm going to open this chapter 2 in this case. and I'm going to lock it. So typically when you place a graphic or an image within our system, it is automatically placed. In this case, by default, we center it and we keep the documents around a specific size. And this is to maintain consistency across all our documentation. However, one of the other features that we added recently and that you can see in the SP15 version is you can add attributes to any content within this document and use that as a formatting mechanism. So for example, if I click on graphic here and I right click and I say edit attributes, in this case I've added a single attribute called size, and I've limited the values to small, medium, and large, including empty. So in this case, the current value of this attribute is large, but if I select medium and I click apply, here I am setting a specific sizing attributes within the style associated with that value. So likewise, if I click on it again, edit attributes, small, apply, I can, in this case, decrease the size of the image. Now I can apply any kind of styling, left position, right position, size, background color, anything that I can do within CSS, because that's the mechanism we use for both style and position, and associate that with specific attribute values.
Okay. How can I create 2 paragraphs with 1 text element?
So in order to do that, you want to basically embed a new line character within the text. So since I have this unlocked, I'm going to click here. All right, you can see this is 1 text element. Hold the shift key and hit enter. I will embed a new line within the text element, and I can embed many new lines if I want, and continue to add text content, thus creating a paragraph, if you will, within a single text element.
All right, so we're running close to time here, so we're going to ask just one more question. How do you create and maintain the document schema?
Okay, so the document schema is maintained under a document type. All right, so this is our overarching item type for controlling the content and the style. So I'm going to click on User's Guide because that's the schema that I was using for this demo. Click on Edit, and we won't have time for me to go through all of this content here, but this is the document schema. And we use XML schema for this. Okay, the XML schema is a standard XML language for describing structured content, and that's exactly what we use in our environment. Here we've got a schema-based editor. It allows me to edit in XML. If there are any invalid characters in there, it will give me context information telling me that it's wrong. Likewise, if I have invalid XML schema, it will give me those messages as well.
All right. Thank you for your questions. I apologize for any we didn't get to today. I'm going to leave you with what is upcoming in our demo series topics. On October 18th, we'll be demonstrating an exclusive look at the future of simulation with Aras. And then on November 1st, we will be covering requirements engineering application. Again, you can register for upcoming demos and view any past demos at www.aras.com/demoseries. We'd love for you to join the open Aras PLM community. We have blogs, forums, community projects, and knowledge bases with a lot of good information. Finally, be sure to follow Aras on social. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, where we share industry-related news and articles, the latest Aras news, products, assets, and more. We thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having you on next time. Thank you, and have a good day.